Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my Friday Reads video for August 23rd, 2019. Well, to start with, I finished The Singer's Gun by Emily St. John Mandel. I plan to be discussing this and her other two backlist titles, Pre-Station 11, in another video coming up soon. So I'll just address something I mentioned in my last video to say that yes, the cat made it through the transcontinental flight okay. Stay tuned for more details. Next, over the weekend, I finished Oksana Behave by Maria Kuznetsova. I read this for my book club, which is meeting next week. This is a story of vignettes about the life of Ukrainian-American immigrant Oksana. It starts as she's leaving Kiev when she is like 7 or 8 years old, and we jump every couple of years into a new vignette about where she is in her life, covering her life from, her school days up until when she's a young adult and is ultimately married and pregnant. I liked this collection. I talk about in Jewish fiction there's a lot of stories of commitment-phobic young women who are sexually promiscuous. And Oksana was like that to a large degree, but I think that I got enough of a sense of her character that it didn't irk me as much. She seemed, she had more going on in her life as well, especially with her family, a really quirky group of characters. From Kuznetsova's bio, it does seem like maybe this is autofiction, but then again her bio is very brief, so all I'm really saying is that she's a Ukrainian immigrant who grew up with her parents and her grandmother. All of the details could be different or could not be different. It doesn't really matter. What I like the most about the story is this exploration of Oksana's jokesy, laissez-faire attitude. I don't really feel like that's the right phrasing. She was very unsentimental. She used jokes sort of to mask sort of her real emotions, and that's something that she deals with successively in each story, and it sort of builds on itself until I don't know exactly what you could say could change. The people that she meets, sort of a succession of dealing with past decisions, good and bad, and having it form her in a better way to, mature a bit, wanting different things as she got older, perhaps. Or maybe being more okay with wanting what she wanted as she got older. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking this is a deeper character study than it was, but I enjoyed it for what it was, even though Oksana is a very different character than I am. And maybe I'm trying to understand her in my terms of being overly emotional. But I thought that this could be funny, but had enough seriousness to it that I stayed invested. I don't think it was perfect, and I imagine my book club will also see some flaws in it, because that tends to be the way of our conversations. But I thought it was pretty good. Next, I procured and finished the print copy of A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine. I finished it just before sitting down to film, really. I'd had 3 chapters left in my perusal of this book as of when the library yanked my audiobook away last week. And man, a lot went down in those 3 chapters. We had some sudden plot twists going on here. I guess it was only apropos for the course, because when I left this novel we were in the middle of a bit of a civil war with a looming existential threat too. I might be delving too much into spoilers there, but this is a space opera of sorts. The premise of this novel is that it's, I think, based a bit off of the Byzantine Empire, since Martine is a scholar of that, and she sort of imagines it in an interstellar attitude of an interplanetary empire called Texcalan. And her main character is an ambassador from a small space station, Lassell. The space station's trying to stay independent, but lots of people, including the ambassador, are sort of taken into the cultural milieu of the empire, which is just known for its poetry and its other art. And I think that really helped me with this book because it could be kind of dry and a little too much about systems of systems of society rather than people and character development, really. But because it was so much based on culture, that really spoke to me. It was interesting to start reading this and off the page rather than listening to it. Martine italicizes a lot of her words. It's a little disconcerting. It's a little much, I think. But I really liked being able to actually read all of the weird names for everything. And I feel like if I had been reading it all along, maybe I would have remembered some of the names a little bit better. I was a little confused jumping back into this. The names blur together. So I do think I'm going to continue with this series. The next book is coming out next year. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it in print or in audiobook, but I'm wondering if ultimately print would be best because of the dense world building and wanting to keep a better grasp on all of the characters and other aspects. We'll see. And then we have what I'm still in the middle of reading, starting with my last Emily St. John Mandel backlist book, well, the first that she published, which is Last Night in Montreal. I'm kind of hoping to finish this on Friday. I'm filming a little bit early, but I'm not sure. I still have a fair bit of ways to go with this story. And I'm finding it intriguing. I'm not sure if it moves as quickly as her other books. There's a lot of back and forth in time going on here. A slightly larger cast of characters, I think. I don't know, I think it's more like the Lola Quartet than the Singer's Gun. But yeah, I'll be talking about these three books more in detail in an upcoming video, as I said. But to give a bit of a synopsis, this is the story broadly of a girl named Lilia, who, when she was about 6 or 7, she was abducted by her father from her mother's home, and for several years afterwards they were on the run, sort of living from motel to motel. And there was a private investigator who was sort of on their tails and was trying to catch up to them and ended up sort of ruining his own marriage and family in the process because they were never really found. And one of the major things that Lilia did was write in motel Bibles, like, I don't want to be found, I don't want to be found, although she put it in a psalm about being lonely. I don't know. Then there's a sort of present-day component where Lilia is an adult and she's stopped being on the run with her father, who's since settled down, but she still jumps from place to place and can't stay long. And in the last place in New York where she lived, she gets involved with a guy, Eli, which is not unusual. She gets involved with a lot of people. But we follow him, who follows her, to Montreal. And it ties into some of the other earlier threads about, well, particularly about the family of the private investigator who's following her. I guess I'm not entirely sure what I think. I think it's a little less focused than the other two backlist titles, and in a way I think that works against this one. Lilia's goals are sort of by definition not very defined, and Eli's quest to go after her seems half-baked at most. But then again, maybe that'll change in the significant part of the novel that I have left. He's finally starting to reach up to other parts of the plot, so we'll see. And finally, well, a main goal of mine for the weekend is to finish this book. This is The Remains of Love by Zeruya Shalev. This is the book that I am reading for Women in Translation Month. It was translated from the Hebrew by Philip Simpson. This is a thick sort of stream of consciousness story that takes place in Israel when a matriarch is dying and her 2 adult children are attending her, and they're all sort of going through internal drama about who they are and how they have perceived themselves through their lives and how they want to move forward, insofar as you can move forward in life, given what time you have. I put it aside to do a lot of this other reading, but if I want to get a video up before the end of Women in Translation Month, which I do, I need to finish this very soon, because next week I'm hoping to have a video review up for this, as well as my video review for the Emily St. John Mandel backlist. So that about covers it for me now. Yes, I foresee this weekend being reading intensive, I'm hoping. I also do have a writing goal. I have blog posts that I like to write every month, and one of them in particular I need to prepare for. Namely, I'm hoping to review the 3rd season of The Handmaid's Tale, but I actually lapsed on my viewing. I'm several episodes behind, so I need to catch up on those before I write down my thoughts. I'd also like to write the book reviews for some of the books I talked about just now. I'm hoping I can remember them well to write something nice on Goodreads. So I'm not sure I'll be doing any work on my novella or my fantasy project this weekend, which, but you know, there's always only so much time and always a lot to be done. Who knows, I might also want to do some chores or something this weekend. So that's my plan. Hope you're feeling good with your plans this weekend. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.